Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? I don't know the rest, 'cause I am not American, but I do love Logan Sargent, the first American driver to score points in F1 in the last 30 years, and on home turf nonetheless. Even though that point was due to 2 disqualifications after the order, I don't know the melody anymore. I love you, Logan. We're proud. I will follow you to IndyCar. Sad eagle noises. So last week I've talked about how I need to come to terms with how the sport can be very cruel. And I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can, because this week it was announced that Logan Sargent is replaced by Franco Colapinto for the remainder of the season. Honestly, since they announced it, I had the time to calm down about it a little bit. But I do have a few things to say about it. First, I'll talk about the emotional part of it, which I know doesn't really matter, but I'm an emotional person, so let me have this. Obviously, this is so unfair to Logan, and I also think it's a little bit unfair to Franco, and obviously very unfair to fans who were going to go to the races to see Logan race, especially in Austin and Vegas. So that kind of hurts. This was also not pre-planned. Like, if they knew they were gonna replace Logan for the remainder of the season, he would not have come back from the break. But obviously his crash in FP3 in Zandvoort was the straw that broke the camel's back. There were talks earlier this season with Logan being replaced with Kimi Antonelli, which I've also talked about. And I said that I didn't think they were going to do it, A, and B, that it was a good thing to do. But they didn't anyway, but not with Kimi. They did it with Franco, as I said, which, by the way, nothing against Franco. I don't know a lot about him, but from what I've seen in F2, he was actually one of the people I was rooting for in F2, and he was good in that. He was 6th in the championship before Williams just ripped him away from it. So I'm actually very happy for him that he gets this chance to be in F1. It's just that the circumstances are a little bit upsetting, but nothing that I'm saying is directed towards him. It's all towards Williams and James Vowell specifically. And going on with the more technical aspect of the switch, Logan's problem, as we've talked about before, is his lack of experience. So replacing him with an even more inexperienced driver is just another huge fuck you to Logan. That's one thing, but also a huge risk for Williams, because I'm not sure how they can guarantee that the same won't happen with Franco, which is the reason why I think it's a little unfair for Franco as well, because also I doubt that he'll go back to F2 after this year, and obviously he doesn't have a seat with Williams next year. There are technically 2 options for seats next year in VCarb and Sauber, with the only real option being Sauber, although I'm not sure Williams will give up on their academy driver. So I'm not sure what's the future for Franco, and honestly I just hope that he gets the most out of this season that he can for himself as a driver, because honestly I'm kind of turning against Williams here, even though I'm rooting for both of the drivers, so that's kind of hard to manage, but it's just how I feel. So yeah, that's the swap. We also have the Ferrari special suits, which I didn't really like. It's too much elements, like the carbon fiber on the bottom and then like a checkered flag on top, and then the fucking HP logo that it ruins everything, to be honest. And also the Shell logo, I don't know why it's in a yellow square. It's just kind of ugly. From afar it looks fine, but up close not so much. And also they kept the fireproofs red. Huge mistake in my opinion. They also had a special livery, which honestly after Miami I was expecting to be disappointed. I mean, it's just the numbers are black. That's the special, and I mean at least it isn't ugly. I mean obviously still I wish the HP fucking logos were not on it, but I don't think we can do anything about that, unfortunately. But then we have the special helmets for Charles and Carlos, which actually slayed. They slayed. Charles had a black helmet, again with a carbon fiber texture on it, and Carlos had a yellow helmet, and they're both beautiful, stunning, chef's kiss. So Monza is another historic track. There's new tarmac this year, which means a lot of track evolution, and also they changed the curbs in some turns. So practice was pretty important for the teams to relearn how everything is going to behave and collect data for the race. So in practice, we had in FP1 Kimi in for Mercedes instead of George. He seemed quick in the beginning, but then he had a spin in the parabolica and he went off to the gravel and hit the wall, putting him out of the session and obviously damaging George's car. To be fair, other people almost went off there, including Fergo Colapinto, who went to the gravel but didn't hit the wall, and also the safety car went off there in like testing. I think it's just the experience of knowing how to correct yourself that he lacks. But either way, not the free practice that Kimi wanted to have or Mercedes wanted to have, because the next day they announced him as their driver for 2025, which congratulations Kimi. I've said my opinions about this before. I think he's a great driver, but I'm scared about all the pressure that he's going to be put under. So I hope everything goes well, Kimi. Other things that happened during the practices is that the Mercedes seat is very hot and basically everything was very close but all over the place. So there were a lot of unknowns going into quali, into the race, which is very fun. I also did my embroidery while watching FP2, I think, and I just wanted to show it to you because it is F1 related. I have like 3 of these kits. They're driver's helmets. This is Lewis Hamilton's, obviously. I have a Dan Ricciardo one and another Lewis Hamilton one. So this is how far along I am. Sounds like I'm pregnant, but whatever. Yeah, this is my first time doing embroidery, by the way. It's fairly easy to learn and it's very fun and serves as occupational therapy to me, I guess. So I'll try to put the link for the store for this in the description. It's on Etsy. They also have a TikTok. They're called Racecraft and they have a lot of stuff. So this is not sponsored, obviously, but I like them. I would recommend buying from them. Moving on to quali. Once again, it was very, very close, but McLaren came out on top once again with a front row lockout. Lando P1, Oscar P2, Russell right behind, 2 Ferraris who seemed to be struggling a bit more than they did in practice. Lewis and then the 2 Red Bulls, which seemed really off pace. And then Alex and Nico closing the top 10. And before we continue to the race, I just wanted to mention that I also watched F2 this weekend. It was crazy in the best way possible. So we had Ollie winning the sprint race, and then in the main race, Gabriel Bortoleto, who is a McLaren junior, by the way, won from last. Obviously, there was a safety car involved, but he was flying throughout the whole thing and won by 10 seconds. So it's not just the safety car that got him that win. I also understood that the F3 race was crazy, so I didn't have the time to watch it, but I will. And with all of that out of the way, let's talk about the race. So going into it, as I said before, there was a lot of unknowns, not only in terms of who really has the pace, but also how the tires are going to behave, because they didn't really have a lot of data on long runs, specifically on the hard tires. So this could have been a 1-stop or a 2-stop, just winging it with whatever's happening during the race. So that was very exciting going into it, not knowing what was going to happen. And this might be kind of surprising for you, but I'm actually not so mad with how things turned out. Obviously, things could have gone a lot smoother, but I'm pretty pleased with the results. I know I talk a lot about McLaren, but I'm also a Ferrari fan. Maybe not as dedicated or hardcore as other tifosi, but I definitely support them. And I was going into this race knowing that I'll be fine with either one of the Ferraris winning or one of the McLarens. And I got them as the top 4, so that's pretty much all I could have asked for. I do think it could have been a little more special, maybe with Carlos on the podium as well. Obviously, his last race with Ferrari at Monza, and also it was his 30th birthday, so happy birthday, Carlos. I hope P4 was a good enough gift for you. But anyway, I'm very happy with this race. It was also a good race as like a race. And obviously Ferrari winning at Monza is incredible. Like the crowd, wow, it was amazing and the atmosphere seemed incredible. So with that out of the way, let's go back to the start of the race, which this time Lando didn't fuck. He got off the line pretty well and didn't lose the lead into turn 1. So Progress. He did, however, lose it into turn 4 when Oscar overtook him, which also allowed Charles to get past. And I just wanted to talk about the McLaren situation for a second, specifically team orders. So they were obviously allowed to race today, as we've heard on the radio several times, papaya rules, which I generally like because actual racing will always be better than team orders in terms of the sport. And obviously I love both Lando and Oscar, so this gives both of them a chance to be the number one driver that they both deserve to be. But in terms of the Drivers' Championship, at this point of the season, it is abundantly clear that they should prioritize Lando. And specifically today, it was also better for the Constructors' Championship because if they were told to hold positions from the start, we could probably had a 1-2. And of course, the Ferrari one stop could have caught them out in that scenario as well, but at least they could say they tried. I think McLaren has a lot of anxiety regarding how people perceive them, which same, but this is not how you run an F1 team. This is not how you win races, and definitely not how you win championships. And in Hungary, when they were talking to Lando on the radio, asking him to give Oscar the place back, they were talking about how he's gonna need Oscar and he's gonna need a team to win championships. And I think at that point in time, McLaren and all of us thought about future championships. But since then, I think we've all clocked that this is achievable this year, and McLaren need to wake the fuck up and manage your drivers. Because to be clear, this isn't on Oscar and this isn't on Lando. They shouldn't be expected to be or have to be team players unless their team orders them to. So this is purely on McLaren. And it sounds a little silly to say when you get double podiums, but you're fumbling the bag hard and your drivers look miserable. And I agree that Oscar was better than Lando today. And as much as it hurts me as an Oscar fan, it's time to work towards winning the Drivers' Championship as well. And Nico Rosberg agrees with me, and he tries to gentle parent Zach into doing it, but Zach just doesn't get it. He's like, no, they're both our number one drivers and we'll see how the race goes. But at the end of the day, this hurts all of us. It hurts the team, it hurts Oscar as a driver, it hurts Lando as a driver, and it hurts all of the fans watching. There's still time to fix this. Please start acting on it. I can't watch this anymore. It's torture. Whew. So sorry about that rant. I just had to get it off my chest. And continuing with other things that happened over the race. Well, overall, I think it was kind of clumsy and chaotic from everyone. A lot of people were dipping their wheels in the gravel, cutting his chicanes. We had some pit lane and pit stop shenanigans and some penalties. And honestly, I kind of like that it's getting a little messy. I don't know like what specifically happened in Monza, what was in the air, but I'm not complaining because it makes everything more interesting, obviously, but I am complaining when it's happening to the drivers that I like. Other than that, honestly, a lot happened, so I'm sorry if I can't recall it all. The Mercedes, George, turn 1, he had a lockup and had to take the escape route to not hit Oscar, which I'm thankful for that he did that. So that cost him some places, and then he also got front wing damage, which I'm guessing also hindered his pace. He also had a bad stop, and this just wasn't going his way at all today. Hamilton, nothing special from him today. He started 5th and finished 5th. The Red Bulls, who actually were supposed to be really good with race pace, struggled a lot. I think nothing went well for them today. They had some issue that prevented them from using full power. They also fucked Max's stop once and committed to the 2 stop with having the first round of their stops going from hards to hards, so there was no option for them even to attempt the 1 stop. So again, this was a huge opportunity for McLaren to actually take the lead on the constructors and inch closer in the drivers, but they didn't maximize that today. Daniel had a really bad race. I mean, he started okay, but then he got a penalty for forcing Nico Hülkenberg off the track. But then when he came to the pits, which normally when you have a 5-second penalty, let's say, like you come to the pits, you stop, they don't touch your car for 5 seconds and then they do the pit stop. But this time a mechanic accidentally, out of instinct, I guess, touched the car, like caught it with his hand, like the wing. So that counted as not serving the time penalty correctly, which gave him another time penalty, a 10-second penalty. So that was shit. And then Yuki had to retire after Nico Hulkenberg collided with him. So not a good day for any of the Red Bulls. And also the Haas's not an awesome day because Kevin also caused a collision with Pierre, which gave him a time penalty, but also 2 points penalty like on his, I guess, license. Like essentially every time a driver gets a penalty in the race, they also get penalty points, and they can have a maximum of 12 penalty points in a span of 12 months until they get one race ban. So Kevin Magnussen, with all the points that he collected this year, and also I think some from last year, has got to those 12 points, which means he's not gonna race in Azerbaijan, and we'll probably get to see Oliver Berman coming in for him, so that should be exciting. The Williams had a pretty good race. Alex managed to keep position and get 2 points, and Franco actually had a really good race as well. Started P18, finished P12. I wouldn't get too excited about it still. We've already had a rookie doing well in Monza and then not doing very well in other races in Nick de Vries last year, so I'm saying let's not get our hopes up. This is also a track where Williams specifically are very strong at. So once again, this is nothing against Franco. I hope he has a great rest of the season, but I don't think this can be used to judge what the rest of the year would look for him. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there wasn't really any other noticeable things I want to mention. I feel like I'm missing a lot, but I actually have nothing else to say. So I guess that's it. I'll see you next time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and enjoy these memes. Bye! Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Fuck. I can't. I need to take this seriously. This is serious. Okay. This is very serious and very sad. We need to take this seriously. Okay, come on.